No, certainly, replied Planchet, rather astonished at the unexpected honor conferred upon him. You will say, then, to my good and faithful Persians, continued Anne, with a smile, the expression of which did not deceive D'Artagnan, that you have seen the king in bed, asleep, and the queen also ready to retire. I shall tell them, Madame, and those who accompany me will say the same thing. But what, asked Anne of Austria. Will your majesty pardon me? Said Planchet. But is it really the king who is lying there? Anne of Austria started. If, she said, there is one among you who knows the king, let him approach and say whether it is really his majesty lying there. A man wrapped in a cloak, in the folds of which his face was hidden, approached and leaned over the bed and looked. For 1 second, D'Artagnan thought the man had some evil design, and he put his hand to his sword, but in the movement made by the man in stooping a portion of his face was uncovered, and D'Artagnan recognized the co-tutor. It is certainly the king, said the man, rising again. God bless his majesty. Yes, repeated the leader in a whisper. God bless his majesty. And all these men, who had entered enraged, passed from anger to pity and blessed the royal infant in their turn. Now, said Planchet, let us thank the queen. My friends, retire. They all bowed, and retired by degrees as noiselessly as they had entered. Planchet, who had been the first to enter, was the last to leave. The queen stopped him. What is your name? My friend, she said. Planchet, much surprised at the inquiry, turned back. Yes, continued the queen, I think myself as much honored to have received you this evening as if you had been a prince. And I wish to know your name. Yes, thought Planchet, to treat me as a prince. No, thank you. D'Artagnan trembled lest Planchet, seduced, like the crow in the fable, should tell his name, and that the queen, knowing his name, would discover that Planchet had belonged to him. Madame, replied Planchet, respectfully, I am called Dullerier, at your service. Thank you, you, Monsieur Dullerier, said the queen, and what is your business? Madame, I am a clothier in the Rue Bourdonnais. That is all I wished to know, said the queen. Much obliged to you, Monsieur Dullerier. You will hear again from me. Come, come, thought D'Artagnan, emerging from behind the curtain. Decidedly, Monsieur Planchet is no fool. It is evident he has been brought up in a good school. The different actors in this strange scene remained facing one another, without uttering a single word, the queen standing near the door, D'Artagnan half out of his hiding place, the king raised on his elbow, ready to fall down on his bed again at the slightest sound that would indicate the return of the multitude. But instead of approaching, the noise became more and more distant, and very soon it died entirely away. The queen breathed more freely. D'Artagnan wiped his damp forehead, and the king slid off his bed, saying, "Let us go." At this moment Laporte reappeared. "Well?" asked the queen. "Well, madame," replied the valet, "I followed them as far as the gates. They announced to all their comrades that they had seen the king, and that the queen had spoken to them, and, in fact, they went away quite proud and happy." "Oh, the miserable wretches!" murmured the queen. "They shall pay dearly for their boldness. And it is I who promise this." Then turning to D'Artagnan, she said, "Sir, you have given me this evening the best advice I have ever received. Continue, and say what we must do now." "Monsieur Laporte," said D'Artagnan, "finish dressing his majesty. We may go." "Then," asked the queen, "whenever your majesty pleases, you have only to descend by the private stairs, and you will find me at the door. Go." "Sir," said the queen, "I will follow you." D'Artagnan went down and found the carriage at its post, and the musketeer on the box. D'Artagnan took out the parcel which he had desired Bernouin to place under the seat. It may be remembered that it was the hat and cloak belonging to Monsieur de Gondy's coachman. He placed the cloak on his shoulders and the hat on his head, whilst the musketeer got off the box. "Sir," said D'Artagnan, "you will go and release your companion, who is guarding the coachman. You must mount your horse and proceed to the Rue Tiquetonne, Hôtel de la Chevrette, whence you will take my horse and that of Monsieur du Vallon, which you must saddle and equip, and then you will leave Paris, bringing them with you to Cours-la-Reine. If, when you arrive at Cours-la-Reine, you find no one, you must go on to Saint Germain on the king's service.